One secret. That's all it took. She told her new sister-in-law one truth about their stepfather, and it didn't just ruin the wedding. It caused 6 relationships to implode instantly. 11 brothers tried to hide a predator from their wives, and this sister burned their cover to the ground. Was she a hero for protecting the kids, or did she just destroy her entire family? And that is just the beginning. We also have a dad who found a polite legal loophole to let his son handle bullies, and a bride who served the ultimate financial revenge when her sister refused to help with the wedding. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel where we break down the absolute wildest stories from r/AITAH. If you live for the drama, the petty revenge, and the moral dilemmas, you are definitely in the right place. We are on a mission to hit 10,000 subscribers, and every single one of you watching helps us get closer to that goal. So please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's jump right into this family disaster. Am I the asshole for telling my Sil a family secret, and now everyone is breaking up or divorcing? All right, buckle up, because this is a wild ride that's about to make your blood absolutely boil. We're talking about a family so dysfunctional, so backwards, so utterly messed up that by the end of this, you're going to need a minute to just sit and process what you just read. So, our writer is 30 years old. She's got 11 brothers. Yes, you read that right, 11. And she's the only girl in a family of 12 kids total. Already, you're probably thinking, wow, that's a lot of siblings. But just wait, it gets so much worse. Several months ago, she gets an invite to her older brother Adam's wedding. He's 33, getting married to a woman we'll call Abby, and the invite includes our writer, her husband, and their children. Seems normal enough, right? Wrong. Because our writer immediately calls Adam and asks one very specific question. Is our mother's husband going to be there? And when Adam says, of course, our writer drops a bomb that sets up this whole nightmare. She tells him straight up, I will never have my children in the same room as that man. She's willing to make an exception for herself and attend the wedding alone to celebrate her brother's happy day. But her kids and husband? Absolutely not. They're staying far, far away. Now, here's where Abby comes in. She's disappointed because she has no family of her own, no siblings, both parents are deceased, so she was really hoping to have her entire new family together at the wedding. And honestly, that's heartbreaking. This woman who's never had a big family is marrying into one with 12 siblings, and she's excited about it. She wants everyone there. She doesn't understand why this would be an issue. But our writer holds firm. Kids and husband aren't coming, just her. And she does exactly that. The wedding day arrives, our writer shows up solo while her husband takes the kids to visit his parents for the weekend. The ceremony is beautiful, Adam looks happy, everything seems fine. But then, during the reception, Abby pulls our writer aside. She's excited to finally meet Adam's mysterious little sister, her exact words, and she starts asking a million questions. And then she asks the question, the one that makes our writer's heart sink. How come you're never around? And in that moment, our writer realizes something absolutely horrifying. No one ever told Abby about their mother's husband. Let that sink in for a second. This woman just married into a family of 12 siblings, and not one of those 11 brothers bothered to mention something pretty freaking important about their family situation. Our writer tries to deflect at first. She tells Abby this is really a conversation she needs to have with Adam. But Abby says she's tried asking him and everyone else, and you know what response she always got? That our writer is dramatic and a drama queen, and she's throwing a years-long tantrum because she's a brat. They called her a brat. They called her dramatic. They said she was throwing a tantrum, and we're about to find out why that's so absolutely disgusting and vile. But Abby says after actually talking to our writer, she doesn't get that impression at all. She doesn't think our writer seems like a dramatic brat. And then she drops another bomb. She's 10 weeks pregnant. She really wants her child to know their entire family. Her baby won't have aunts, uncles, and cousins from her side, so she really wanted her baby to have a relationship with everyone from Adam's side. She thought maybe whatever the issue is, she could help fix it. And our writer, probably feeling the weight of this pregnant woman who has no idea what kind of family she just married into, takes a deep breath and tells her the truth. Not all of it, but enough. The man my mother is married to hurt me and made my entire middle school experience a nightmare, and no one protected me until I met my husband. He and his family made me realize I didn't have to put up with the crap I got from my family, so the moment I graduated high school, I left and never looked back. And then our writer just turns and leaves the reception, drives straight home, just done with the whole situation. Now, during Adam and Abby's honeymoon, Abby does what any smart woman would do. She investigates. She finds our writer's stepdad's arrest record. She finds the charges. She finds him still listed on the registry. Yeah, the registry, as in the sex offender registry, as in this man is a convicted predator and he's on a public list that anyone can look up. And somehow 11 grown men thought it was a good idea to just not mention this to their wives and girlfriends. But wait, it gets even better. And by better, I mean so much worse. Abby doesn't just keep this information to herself. She reaches out to the other wives and girlfriends of our writer's brothers to see if any of them knew. And guess what? None of them did. Not a single one. These men had hidden the fact that their stepfather is a registered sex offender from every single woman in their lives. The fallout? Absolutely nuclear. 4 brothers are looking at divorces, including Adam, and 2 have already been dumped by their girlfriends. 6 relationships imploded in one fell swoop because these men thought it was totally fine to hide the existence of a predator from their partners. And now, of course, our writer's phone is blowing up because somehow, this is her fault. These grown men who lied to their wives and girlfriends, who exposed their children to a registered sex offender without their partner's knowledge, who called their sister dramatic for being a victim. They're mad at her? The audacity, the absolute nerve of these people. Her husband, her husband is backing her up 100%, as he should, telling her she did nothing wrong and that her brothers should have been honest with their significant others from the start. Let's break down what we know here, because there's a lot to unpack. First, our writer's mother is married to a man who is on the sex offender registry. Based on context, the fact that he hurt our writer during middle school, that she was never protected until she met her husband, that she left the moment she could, it's pretty clear this man abused her as a child, her own stepfather. And the charges and registry listing confirm this isn't just an allegation, this is proven, convicted, public record. Second, her mother stayed with him. Let that sink in. This woman chose her husband over her daughter. She failed to protect her child from a predator living in their home, and then she stayed married to him even after whatever happened was serious enough to result in criminal charges and registry placement. Third, all 11 of our writer's brothers knew about this. They knew what happened to their sister. They knew this man was dangerous. They knew he was on the registry. And instead of cutting him off, instead of protecting their sister, instead of being honest with their partners, they chose to maintain a relationship with him and lie to everyone else about it. Fourth, they didn't just keep quiet. They actively smeared our writer. They told their wives and girlfriends that she was dramatic, a brat throwing a tantrum. They made her the villain in a story where she was the victim. They victim blamed their own sister to cover up for a predator. And fifth, and this might be the most chilling part, some of these brothers have children, kids who have presumably been around grandpa at family gatherings, kids whose mothers had no idea they were being exposed to a registered sex offender, kids who were potentially put in danger because their fathers thought protecting a predator was more important than protecting their own children. The level of betrayal here is almost incomprehensible. Our writer was abused as a child, abandoned by her mother, failed by her brothers, and then blamed for the natural consequences of escaping that situation. And when the truth finally comes out, truth that was public record the whole time, by the way, everyone's mad at her. Let me be absolutely crystal clear here. You are not the asshole. Not even a tiny bit. Not even 0.00001%. You are so cosmically far from being the asshole that the asshole is in a different universe. Your brothers are the assholes. Your mother is the asshole. Your stepfather is obviously the biggest asshole of all, of King Omid, but he's way beyond just being an asshole. He's a predator and a criminal. You know what Abby did when she found out? She investigated. She found the public records. She contacted the other women in the family. She made informed decisions about her safety, her pregnancy, and her future. That's what you do when you find out someone dangerous is in your life. You don't attack the person who told you. You don't defend the person who lied to you. You protect yourself and any children involved. Those divorces and breakups, those aren't happening because you told a secret. Those are happening because your brothers lied to their partners, exposed their partners and potentially children to a dangerous person, victim blamed their own sister, showed catastrophically bad judgment, proved they can't be trusted to protect their own families. Any woman with half a brain would run from that situation. If my husband hid the fact that his stepfather was on the sex offender registry, if he let our kids be around that person without telling me, if he called his abused sister dramatic instead of cutting off her abuser, I would divorce him so fast his head would spin. Not because of what happened to his sister. That's not his fault. But because of how he responded to it. Because he showed me he can't be trusted. Because he showed me he prioritizes protecting a predator over protecting children, including potentially his own. The wives and girlfriends who are leaving aren't just leaving because of the lie, although that would be enough. They're leaving because they're looking at the men they married or dated and thinking, if he did this to his sister, if he's okay with this person being around children, if he thinks hiding this is acceptable, what else is he capable of? How can I trust him with my children? How can I trust him to protect them from anything or anyone if he won't even protect them from a known, convicted, registered predator? And they're right to think that way. Those women are making the smart choice. They're protecting themselves and their kids from men who have proven they cannot be trusted with the most basic responsibility of parenthood, keeping children safe from known dangers. Your brothers had years to tell their partners. Adam had the entire time he was dating Abby, getting engaged to Abby, planning a wedding with Abby to tell her. He chose not to. That's not an accident. That's not forgetting. That's a deliberate choice to hide information he knew would be a deal breaker. And the fact that all your brothers made this same choice, that tells you everything you need to know about how deep this dysfunction runs. This wasn't one person making one bad call. This was a coordinated, family-wide effort to protect a predator and silence a victim. Every single one of them is complicit. The comment from one Reddit user really nails it. Open quote, "Isn't it ironic that everyone knows a girl that's been raped, but nobody seems to know a rapist?" Close quote. We know plenty of rapists. We know plenty of abusers. We know plenty of predators. They're our family members, our neighbors, people we work with. Society is full of people who would rather attack victims for speaking up than hold abusers accountable. Your brothers are those people. Another commenter pointed out something crucial. Open quote, "They're not divorcing because you told them the truth. They're divorcing because they didn't tell the truth. And also for letting them and possibly their kids around him." Close quote. This This is the answer. This is why you're not the asshole. You didn't cause these divorces. Your brothers caused these divorces when they chose to maintain a relationship with your abuser, lied to their partners about it, exposed children to danger, called you dramatic and a brat for being a victim, failed to protect the most vulnerable people in their lives. Actions have consequences. Your brothers are learning that lesson the hard way. And honestly, they're getting off light. If one of those kids had been hurt, they wouldn't just be getting divorced, they'd potentially be facing criminal charges for child endangerment. The fact that your mother is still married to this man is its own special kind of horrific. I don't have words for a mother who would choose a man over her daughter's safety and well being, who would stay with someone who hurt her child, who would allow her other children to normalize and enable that person. That's not just failing as a mother, that's active participation in a harm. And the fact that she apparently told you, according to a later comment, that God told her to stay with him and she can't defy God, that's not faith. That's using religion to justify abandoning your child. God doesn't tell people to stay with child abusers. That's just what abusers and their enablers say to avoid accountability. Some commenters mentioned they'd do a deep dive into whether any of the grandchildren have been harmed. That's a very real concern. Predators don't usually have just one victim. The fact that he's been around all these kids and some of the brothers' families presumably spend time with grandma and grandpa, and none of the mothers knew to watch out, that's terrifying. You may have prevented future abuse by speaking up. You may have helped victims get the support they need if abuse already occurred. That's not being an asshole. That's being a hero. Your story is yours to tell. Full stop. Nobody gets to demand you keep silent about what happened to you, especially not the people who failed to protect you in the first place. And when that story involves a public safety issue, a registered sex offender being around children, you have every right and honestly a moral obligation to share that information with people who need it. This wasn't gossip. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't drama. This was a pregnant woman asking a direct question about her new family, and you giving her enough information to look up the public records herself. Abby did the rest. She investigated, she informed other women, she made decisions to protect herself and her baby. That's on her. The fact that those decisions included divorcing your brother is on him for lying to her in the first place. The brothers trying to blame you are just deflecting from their own failures. They're embarrassed. They're facing consequences for the first time in their lives for enabling an abuser. They're losing their partners because those partners now see them for who they really are. And instead of taking responsibility, instead of apologizing to you for decades of abandonment and victim blaming, instead of acknowledging they put their families at risk, they're attacking you. That's what abusers and enablers do. They DARVO, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. They deny responsibility. It's not their fault they lied. You shouldn't have said anything. They attack. You're causing drama. You're breaking up families. They reverse victim and offender. They're the real victims here. You're the one causing problems. Don't fall for it. You know the truth. Your husband knows the truth. The 6 women who are leaving or have left your brothers know the truth. Everyone reading this story knows the truth. You protected children. You told the truth when asked a direct question. You refused to participate in a cover-up that put innocent people at risk. Those are good things. Those are the right things. Those are the things that good people with strong moral compasses do, even when it's hard, even when it causes conflict, even when it costs them relationships. Your brothers, on the other hand, chose a predator over their sister, chose protecting a criminal over protecting children, chose lying to their partners over basic honesty and integrity. And now they're facing the natural, predictable, deserved consequences of those choices. Not the asshole. Not by any measure. Not in any universe. You did the right thing, and I hope you can see that clearly despite your family's attempts to make you doubt yourself. The only people who should feel ashamed here are your brothers, your mother, and obviously your stepfather. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You survived, you escaped, you built a good life, and you protected other people from the same harm you experienced. That takes incredible strength and courage. I hope you continue to keep your distance from these people. I hope the Siles who are smart enough to leave find happiness and safety. I hope any children who may have been exposed to your stepfather are safe and get whatever support they might need. And I hope you know that you are valued, you are believed, and you deserve so much better than the family you were born into. Thank goodness you found a real family in your husband and his relatives. Am I the asshole for explaining the consequences of his actions to my son? All right, folks, buckle the hell up because we're about to dive into what is quite possibly the most Canadian solution to bullying I have ever seen in my entire life. And when I say Canadian, I mean Canadian, like apologizing while threatening level Canadian. This is some next level problem solving that had me absolutely cackling by the end. So, our writer lives in Canada, important as he keeps telling us, and his kid is being bullied at school. Now, this isn't your typical scrawny kid getting picked on situation. No, no, no. This kid is big. Like he's only 10 years old, but he's the same size as his 13-year-old cousins. Homeboy has been doing taekwondo since kindergarten and plays hockey. So basically, he's a weapon that chooses not to deploy itself, which honestly, respect. That takes serious restraint. But here's where it gets juicy. It's at school who have been absolute assholes to our writer's son and his friends. And our kid, he does everything right, like textbook perfect victim response. He tells the teacher monitoring recess. You know what the teacher says? Oh, these kids are new to Canada and they don't know how to fit in yet. I'm sorry. What? Since when is bullying a cultural tradition? Is there some country out there where they're like, welcome to school orientation. Here's your textbook, here's your locker combination, and here are three nerds you're required to torment daily. Make it make sense. So our kid, being the responsible little dude he is, goes to the principal. Surely the principal will take this seriously, right? Right? Nope. Same bullshit excuse. They're newcomers. They don't understand how Canada is different from their home country and what they saw on American TV. Okay, first of all, that's low-key racist as hell. Like you're essentially saying these kids come from a place where being an asshole is normal, so we're just going to let them be assholes here too. Second of all, American TV, you're blaming American television for kids being jerks. Have these people seen American TV? The bully almost always gets their comeuppance. There's literally a whole genre of feel-good movies based on nerds getting revenge on bullies. What are these kids watching? Some underground bully tutorial channel. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about our writer's wife for a second, because this detail sent me. The wife wanted to go confront the parents herself, and our writer says she likely would have ended up in custody. Why? Because, and this is a direct quote, she's Irish, like real Irish from Ireland, not Marky Mark Irish. Not Marky Mark Irish. I am deceased. I am on the floor. The absolute shade thrown at Mark Wahlberg and his fake-ass Boston accent in that one sentence is chef's kiss perfection. This woman is real Irish, the kind where you don't want to test her because she will throw hands and she will make it everyone's problem. Love that energy, honestly. So our writer, being the smart man that he is, probably learned through experience not to get between his Irish wife and a problem, tells her, I'll take care of it. He makes an appointment to meet with the principal and teacher along with his son. He goes into the meeting with one simple goal: stop the bullying. Reasonable, right? You'd think so. But the principal and teacher try the same tired excuse on him again. These kids are newcomers, they don't understand Canadian culture, blah, blah, blah. So our writer asks what's being done to stop it. They say they talk to the boys. Oh, well, problem solved then. I'm sure those bullies had a come to Jesus moment after being gently asked to maybe please consider not being jerks. Our writer asks if the parents have been brought in and talked to. The answer, no, of course not, because that would require actual work and potentially uncomfortable conversations with adults who might get defensive about their kids being called out. And this is where our writer becomes an absolute legend. He turns to his kid and right there in front of the principal and teacher explains that in Canada, kids under 12 years old cannot be charged with a crime. In fact, they can't even be arrested. Worst case scenario, if anything happened, maybe some community service. The principal and teacher lose their minds. They're telling him he can't tell his kid that. And our writer just calmly asks, am I lying? They both shut the hell up. Because no, he's not lying. It's literally the law. Public information. Something anyone can look up. Our writer points at them and tells his kid to remember that they didn't say he was wrong. Then he tells his son to let him know in a week if the bullying is still happening. And boom, suddenly, miraculously, like some kind of divine intervention, all the bullies' parents get called in and told to control their children. The bullies get library detention instead of recess for a month. Problem solved. Our writer is satisfied with the results, but the teacher and principal seem upset. His wife thinks he should have given his son the information privately. But let me break down why that's missing the entire point of what just happened here. This wasn't about actually telling his son to go beat up some kids. This was a masterclass in strategic threat delivery without technically making a threat. This was putting the school on notice that if they don't handle their business, there will be like consequences. Those consequences will be way harder to deal with than just doing their jobs in the first place. If our writer had told his son privately, the school would have done exactly what they'd been doing. Nothing. They would have continued to let these kids bully with impunity, using the "they're new here" excuse until probably someone got seriously hurt. But by saying it in front of them, he essentially said, "Look, I'm giving you one last chance to handle this before my 10-year-old taekwondo trained, hockey playing, built like a 13-year-old kid takes matters into his own hands. And when he does, there will be zero legal consequences for him. But there will be massive consequences for you when parents start asking why you allowed their kids to get destroyed by a kid you knew was being bullied and did nothing about." It's like when someone says, "It would be a shame if something happened to your nice store here." They're not technically threatening you, but the implication is crystal clear. The comments on this post are absolutely golden, by the way. Everyone's sharing their own stories of schools failing to stop bullying and having to take matters into their own hands. One commenter, u/swordrat720, said they brought up their bully to teachers and administrators and nothing happened. Told their dad, who said, "Figure it out." So they did. And when everything came out, their parents, the bully's parents, and even the police found them in the right. 30 plus years later, no regrets. Would do it again. Another commenter, u/oratonks, was relentlessly bullied, and their parents were too drunk to deal with it, so mom just showed them how to make a proper fist and said to hit bullies back. This person broke their bully's nose in second grade and had no consequences because even the school knew the bully deserved it. U/spinner of yarn dropped some real statistics that made my blood boil. Less than 11% of child sexual abuse cases result in conviction. People damn well better believe it happened if the abuser was found guilty. Think about that for a second. Less than 11%. That means when someone is found guilty, that shit is proven beyond any reasonable doubt. And yet, schools will still make excuses for bad behavior. Make it make sense. One of my favorite comment threads was about how schools are so focused on protecting their image that they'd rather sweep problems under the rug than actually address them. They don't want to deal with angry parents. They don't want to have uncomfortable conversations. They want everything to just magically resolve itself so they can go back to their paperwork and staff meetings. But here's the thing. When you create an environment where victims are told to just suck it up and deal with it, where bullies face zero consequences, where parents are brushed off with lazy excuses, you're not creating a safe learning environment. You're creating a pressure cooker that's eventually going to explode in your face. And when it does, when that bullied kid finally snaps and defends themselves, when there's a fight in your hallways, when parents start pulling their kids out of school because they don't feel safe, when the local news gets wind of the fact that you've been ignoring repeated complaints about bullying, then you want to act like you care? Then you want to have meetings and implement policies and call parents? Nah, too late. Should have done your job in the first place. Our writer pulled off what I like to call a polite Canadian threat. He didn't yell, he didn't curse. He didn't threaten to sue or go to the media or anything dramatic. He just calmly stated facts, legal facts that anyone can verify, and let the implications speak for themselves. And you know what? It worked. Within days, all the bullies' parents were called in, consequences were implemented, and the problem was solved, which proves that the school could have done this at any time. They just chose not to until they were motivated by the possibility of a bigger problem. Some people in the comments suggested our writer should have told his son privately and let him handle it. But that completely misses the strategy here. If the son had fought back without the school being put on notice first, he probably would have faced suspension or expulsion, regardless of the fact that he was defending himself. Schools have this lovely zero tolerance policy that punishes victims and bullies equally, because apparently defending yourself is just as bad as being an aggressor. Make that make sense. By giving the school one last chance to handle it before things escalated, our writer actually protected his son from facing consequences while also getting the bullying stopped. That's big brain energy right there. Also, can we talk about how the school's excuse is borderline xenophobic? They're basically saying these kids are from another country where being mean is normal, so we're going to let them be mean here too. That's not cultural sensitivity. That's making excuses for bad behavior and simultaneously implying that certain cultures are just inherently less civilized. It's gross on multiple levels. If these kids are struggling to adjust to a new country, which sure, that's valid, then the school should be teaching them what's acceptable and what's not giving them a free pass to terrorize other students. You know what doesn't help anyone adjust to a new culture? Letting them think bullying is totally cool and has no consequences. That's setting them up for failure in the long run. One commenter, Oof Moose Dad, absolutely nailed it. Oh, they're from a different culture? They don't understand. Then do your job and educate them. Exactly. That's literally what schools are supposed to do. Educate. If these kids truly don't understand Canadian social norms, which I doubt because don't be a jerk is pretty universal, then teach them. Don't just shrug and let them make other kids miserable. The fact that consequences only happened after our writer made it clear there would be bigger problems if the school didn't act proves that this was never about the bullies not understanding. It was about the school being too lazy or too afraid of confrontation to actually do anything. Eventualized slash unequal enforcement broke down the school's perspective of beautifully. You're dealing with a real asshole of a kid. Do you want to deal with a fully grown adult version of that, possibly two of them at once, and tell them that their kid is an asshole? They will 100% take offense. Again, that's just too fucking bad. Pick a different career if you don't like what it entails. Yes, if you can't handle the difficult parts of your job, then maybe that job isn't for you. Teachers and principals signed up for a career working with children and their families. That includes having hard conversations sometimes. That includes addressing problem behaviors. That includes potentially dealing with defensive or hostile parents. But you know what? Tough shit. That's the gig. You don't get to only do the fun parts and ignore the rest. Multiple commenters shared stories of telling their kids, don't start fights, but finish them. Or if someone puts their hands on you, defend yourself. And you know what? Good. Kids should know they have the right to protect themselves. They shouldn't be taught to be passive victims who just take abuse until an adult maybe eventually decides to help them. Obviously, violence shouldn't be the first resort. Our writer's son tried all the proper channels first. Told the teacher, told the principal, told his parents. He did everything right. And nothing happened until his dad made it clear that the next step was going to be the kid handling it himself. Some people might clutch their pearls at the idea of essentially giving a kid permission to defend himself physically. But honestly, when all their options have been exhausted and adults refuse to protect you, what choice do you have? Just continue being a punching bag indefinitely? Absolutely not. Also, I love that our writer's wife was ready to go full mama bear, or I guess in this case, full Irish warrior woman on these parents. That energy of, I will physically fight another adult to protect my child, is unhinged in the best way. Obviously, she shouldn't actually do that, hence why her husband stepped in, but the spirit of it, love it. There's something beautiful about a parent who is willing to make themselves the problem to protect their kid. Too many parents try to maintain this image of being nice or reasonable even when their kids are suffering. Sometimes you need to be unreasonable. Sometimes you need to make some noise. Sometimes you need to make it clear that you're not going to tolerate your kid being mistreated. And if the people in charge won't handle it, you will. Our writer found the perfect middle ground. He made enough noise to force action without actually crossing any lines that would get him or his son in trouble. That's the sweet spot right there. Surf, you slash chasing travel summed it up perfectly. Exactly. The whole point was for the admin to hear the info you shared with your son. Smart move. Checkmate. Checkmate is right. Our writer played 4D chess while the school was still trying to figure out checkers. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Should parents teach their kids about legal loopholes that might protect them if they commit violence? In an ideal world? No. In an ideal world, schools would protect students, bullying would be swiftly addressed, and kids would never need to defend themselves physically. But we don't live in an ideal world. We live in a world where schools routinely fail to protect bullied students, where victims are told to just ignore it or be the bigger person while bullies face zero consequences, where zero tolerance policies punish victims for defending themselves just as harshly as the original aggressors. In that world, yeah, I think kids deserve to know their rights. They deserve to know what consequences they might face for defending themselves. They deserve to have accurate information so they can make informed decisions if they're ever in a situation where they need to protect themselves. Our writer didn't tell his kid, go beat up those bullies with no consequences. He told him a fact about Canadian law. That's it. The implication was there, sure, but he didn't explicitly encourage violence. He just educated his son in front of people who needed to hear that education had taken place. Galaxy brain move, honestly. So, is our writer the asshole? Hell no. Not even a little bit. Not even 0.001%. Our writer taught this son to handle problems with words first, told his son to report bullying to teachers, told his son to escalate to the principal if teachers don't help, told his son to inform his parents so they can follow up, personally met with school administration when his son's complaints were ignored, gave the school multiple chances to handle the situation appropriately, found a creative solution that forced the school to act without technically doing anything wrong, successfully stopped the bullying without his son having to fight anyone. The school, on the other hand, ignored student complaints about bullying, made excuses for bullies instead of addressing behavior, failed to contact parents of problem students, only took action when threatened with a bigger problem, got mad at a parent for pointing out their failures. The math is mathing, and it's not looking good for the school, not the asshole. Our writer is a protective parent who advocated for his child when the people whose literal job it is to protect students failed to do so. He found a clever, non-violent way to force accountability without crossing any lines. That's not being an asshole. That's being a damn good dad. The teacher and principal can be upset all they want. They brought this on themselves by refusing to do their jobs until forced. Maybe next time they'll take the first complaint seriously instead of waiting until they're backed into a corner. The wife can think what she wants about delivering the information privately, but she's missing the tactical brilliance of the public declaration. The whole point was for the school to hear it. That's what made it effective. And to anyone thinking, but he basically encouraged his kid to fight, no, he didn't. He gave his kid information. What the school chose to do with that information was on them. They could have continued doing nothing and faced the consequences of that choice. Instead, they finally did what they should have done weeks ago: addressed the bullying, involved the parents, and implemented consequences. Everyone acting like our writer did something wrong is conveniently ignoring that his method worked and no one got hurt. The bullying stopped. The bullies faced appropriate consequences. The son didn't have to resort to violence. Um, this is literally the best possible outcome. If the school had just done their jobs in the first place, none of this would have been necessary. They created this situation through their own negligence and laziness. Our writer just forced them to clean up their own mess. Sometimes being a good parent means being willing to be that parent, the one who pushes back, who asks uncomfortable questions, who doesn't just accept bullshit excuses, who advocates loudly for their kid, even when it makes administrators uncomfortable. Our writer did exactly that, and he did it brilliantly. His kid is lucky to have a dad who has his back and knows how to navigate bureaucratic BS to get results. To sum up, not the asshole. Not even close. The school is the asshole for failing to protect students. The bullies are obviously assholes. But our writer? He's a strategic genius who protected his kid without throwing a single punch. That's the kind of problem solving we need more of in this world. And seriously, real Irish from Ireland, not Marky Mark Irish, might be the funniest descriptor I've heard all year. I'm stealing that. Am I the asshole for expecting my sister to plan my wedding for free and demoting her to guest when she wouldn't? I also told anyone who took her side I was not helping them anymore either. Okay, okay, okay. I need everyone to pause for a second because that title, that title is some weapons grade rage bait right there. I saw that headline and I was ready. I was coming in hot, sleeves rolled up, prepared to absolutely destroy someone who sounded like the most entitled bridezilla to ever entitled bridezilla. I was ready to ask if they'd lost their entire mind, if they needed a map to find reality, if they understood that wedding planners are actual professionals who deserve to be paid for their labor and lumber. And then I started reading the actual post. And let me tell you, the whiplash, the absolute plot twist. This is why you don't judge a book by its cover, people. Or in this case, don't judge a Reddit post by its clickbait title. So, our writer and her fiance run a small accounting office together. They do pretty well because they're both bilingual. She speaks English and Spanish, he speaks English and Ukrainian. And here's where it gets interesting. About 10% of their business is family and friends of family. Now, normally in business, that's a recipe for disaster, right? Mixing family and business. But our writer has actually set it up in a really smart way. They do barter, they trade services, all above board, all documented, all legal and proper. And honestly, the trades sound amazing. Her aunt paid in empanadas one year. Her uncle, I'm guessing family friend, had his mom make them a huge batch of tamales. Even her dad has been helping our writer's fiance fix up his truck, and apparently her mom feeds him so much, and her dad gets him so loaded on aguardiente, that's Colombian firewater, for those not in the know, that she's had to pick him up more than once. Side note, I am living for this image of our writer's future father-in-law just absolutely destroying this poor man with food and alcohol. Like, welcome to the family, son. Now eat these 17 empanadas and drink this moonshine while we talk about carburetors. That's beautiful. That's family bonding right there. But anyway, our writer says that everyone they've ever traded with has provided fair exchange. Keyword there, fair exchange. Remember that. It's going to be important. Now, our writer has a sister who runs a wedding planning company, and our writer has been doing her sister's accounting since she started her business. Not like helped her out one time, not like occasionally does her a favor. No, no, no. She's been her sister's accountant for her business since the business started. And the sister has nothing to trade, so our writer has been doing it for free. At first, it was to help her sister get started, which is nice. That's what family does. But then it just continued. They fell into a rut where the sister expects free accounting services, and our writer just keeps providing them because that's how it's always been. Until our writer gets engaged. She announces it at dinner at her parents' house. Congrats, by the way, and asks her sister if she'll plan her wedding and be her maid of honor. The sister says yes to maid of honor, but no to planning the wedding. Our writer asks why not, and here's where the sister really steps in it. The sister says our writer would need to pay for her services, that she can't do free stuff for family because she needs to make money at her job. And then she says this like I didn't know what a job was. I'm sorry, what? Like you didn't know what a job was? The audacity, the unmitigated gall. You've been getting free professional accounting services for years from someone who definitely knows what a job is because she runs her own business, and you're going to be condescending about the concept of work? The disrespect is astronomical. So our writer talks to her fiance, then to her parents. They tell the sister that she's getting an invitation, but she's no longer in the wedding party. Our writer also gives her sister all her business files for the year on a USB drive and tells her she needs to take her business elsewhere. And here's where it gets really good. The parents back up our writer. They tell the sister that our writer was right and that they're disappointed the sister wanted to make money off her after everything our writer did to help her. Finally, finally, we have parents in one of these stories who aren't trying to rug sweep or play peacemaker or tell the wronged party to be the bigger person. The parents looked at the situation and went, yeah, no, you're being a jerk, daughter number two. That's refreshing as hell and honestly gives me a little faith in humanity. But of course, the sister can't just take the L and reflect on her choices like a normal person. Oh no, she goes to social media to complain because nothing says I'm a mature adult who runs a successful business like airing your family drama on Facebook, right? I'm sure that's great for her professional image as a wedding planner. Potential clients definitely want to hire someone who publicly throws tantrums about family conflicts. Very reassuring. And naturally, some people take her side, which, fine, not everyone's going to see your point of view. And the sister probably told a very one-sided story that conveniently left out the part where she's been getting free accounting services for literal years. But then a few of these people start contacting our writer, and this is where our writer becomes an absolute legend. She listens to what they have to say and then asks them, should I continue working for her for free? Most people say no, because duh, that's insane. But a few say family helps family. Family helps family. The hypocrisy is rich. Where was this energy for the sister? Why isn't the sister helping family by planning the wedding for free after years of free accounting work? The logic only goes one way, apparently. So our writer tells anyone she did taxes for who said this that she won't be doing their taxes this year or in the future. They try to backpedal immediately. Wait. I didn't mean too late. You showed your ass. Now you can show it to a paid accountant. I am cackling at this. The instant regret. The shocked Pikachu face when they realize their opinions have consequences. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. No notes. The sister now says she won't come to the wedding. Our writer tells her to RSVP no. The sister then says she wasn't thinking when she said no originally. Oh, now you weren't thinking? Now you want to walk it back? Funny how that realization came after you lost your free accountant and got demoted from the wedding party, and probably after you started calling around to other accountants and found out what they charge. Our writer is holding firm. The sister has 2 months to get a new accountant. And can I just say, the timing, the timing. Tax season is approaching or already here, depending on when this was posted. The sister is going to have to find a new accountant during one of the busiest times of year for accounting. Good luck with that, sis. Let me break down why our writer is absolutely, unequivocally not the asshole here. First, let's talk about the value exchange. Our writer has been providing professional accounting services for a business for free for years. Do you know how much business accounting costs? It ain't cheap. A commenter who's a CPA said his wife's monthly business accounting bill is just shy of 2x his annual personal accounting bill. Monthly versus annual. That's not pocket change we're talking about. Our writer herself said in the comments that her sister's taxes and accounting would run her at least $1,300 a year. So if the sister's business has been running for, let's say, 5 years, probably longer based on the post, that's $6,500 in free services. For one wedding planning gig, that's a steal. The sister would still be coming out ahead. Another commenter who recently got married said they paid their wedding planner $1,500 for the premier package with a basic option at $1,100. So even at the high end, wedding planning is a one-time cost that's less than 2 years of business accounting. The sister is not just ungrateful, she's bad at math, which is ironic considering her sister is an accountant. Second, let's talk about the principle of fair exchange. Our writer has set up her entire business relationship with family on the foundation of fair barter. Everyone trades something of roughly equal value. Empanadas for tax prep, tamales for bookkeeping, truck repairs for accounting work. Everyone leaves happy because both parties got something they wanted. The sister has been receiving services for years with nothing in return. Not because our writer demanded it, but because the sister had nothing to trade initially and they just kept going. But now the sister has something to trade. Now she can finally balance the scales. And instead of jumping at the opportunity to finally reciprocate, to show gratitude for years of free help, to contribute to the family barter system everyone else participates in, she demands payment. The entitlement is staggering. Third, let's address the condescending attitude. She literally said it like I didn't know what a job was. Girl. Your sister runs an accounting firm. She is literally a business owner. She understands jobs probably better than you do, since she has to do payroll, quarterly taxes, business expenses, profit and loss statements, and all the other fun paperwork that comes with running a company. The absolute nerve to talk down to her about the concept of needing to make money at your job while you've been freeloading off her expertise for years. If I was our writer, that condescending tone alone would have been enough for me to drop her as a client. Disrespect me while I'm doing you a massive favor? Bye. Fourth, the public shaming attempt. Going to social media to complain about family drama is tacky under the best circumstances, but when you're the one in the wrong, When you've been getting free professional services for years and refuse to return the favor, that's not just tacky, that's stupid. Because now, when people find out the full story, and they always do, you look even worse. One commenter, Eustonicus, made a great point. The sister probably presented only her side without mentioning the free accounting services. So her friends are out here defending her based on incomplete information. When the truth comes out, and our writer made sure it did by asking people directly about whether she should continue working for free, suddenly people are backpedaling faster than a cyclist going downhill. And honestly, anyone who heard my sister wants me to plan her wedding for free and immediately jumped to you should do it because family without asking any follow-up questions was already showing poor judgment. Like, you didn't think to ask, well, what's the context here? You just assumed our writer was being a demanding bridezilla? Fifth, and this is important, the business impact. As several commenters pointed out, this was actually a great opportunity for the sister from a business perspective. Free publicity, portfolio material, potential referrals. Think about it. You're a wedding planner. Your sister is getting married. You do an amazing job on her wedding, which you would because it's your sister and you'd want it to be perfect. You take tons of photos for your website and social media. You get testimonials from the bride, groom, and all the guests who witnessed your amazing work. Everyone at the wedding is now a potential client or can refer potential clients. You show that you can handle family weddings, which some planners won't do because of the emotional complications, and make them beautiful and stress-free. This is marketing gold, and it's free marketing. All you have to do is actually do the job you claim to be good at. But instead, the sister wanted to nickel and dime her own flesh and blood who's been keeping her books for free since day one. Absolutely mind-boggling business decision. Yush Tamariki said it perfectly. She should have taken the exposure on this one. Now she's going to spend money on her own accountant and lost a client she could have used to pad her portfolio. She sounds too dumb to run a business, it's going to fail, and she will continue to blame everyone but herself. Harsh, but probably accurate. Now let's talk about the comments because they are chef's kiss perfection. Slash, you slash snack powered human came in with the obvious point. They should be telling your sister this, not you, regarding the family helps family crowd. Exactly. Why is the burden always on the person who's already been helping? Our writer has been helping for years. Where's the reciprocal help? Multiple people suggested our writer should send her sister an invoice for all the years of free accounting work. And honestly, I love the pettiness of this. Even if you don't expect her to pay, just putting it in black and white, how much money you saved her might penetrate that thick skull. Though based on her behavior so far, probably not. You slash Molotov Merkin had a delicious suggestion. It's not too late to send that invoice for services rendered in the past. And U slash Comfort Food Alert had the perfect script. I don't mind paying for your service. W, here's the invoice of all the years I've done your accounting taxes. Something must have been gone wrong given that I've never received a single payment for the services provided. I am living for this level of petty. It's not even mean. It's just pointing out reality. The sister wanted to treat this like a business transaction? Fine. Let's see what the numbers actually say. Several people pointed out that the sister is about to get a rude awakening when she tries to find a new accountant. You, Purple Rose 69, said, wait until she does look for a new accountant and finds out what it is going to cost her. Paying for personal taxes is nowhere near the same level as business accounting. Now she has to pay for both. And ULolZomG123 made an excellent point, and she gets to go looking in February, a time when famously accountants have very open schedules. Oh, snap. The sister is going to be scrambling to find an accountant who has availability during tax season and is willing to take on a new business client with presumably a mess of books. Because, let's be real, if our writer was doing everything for her for free, the sister probably wasn't keeping meticulous records herself. Good luck with that. Hope you enjoy paying premium rush fees. Ooh Simple Bowler score 7091 called out the title. That headline was pure rage bait. Had me leaping to the post, ready to rip you a new one. You got me lol. Same, friend. Same. I was ready to go to war and then the Uno reverse card came out and suddenly I'm over here like, oh damn, sis had it coming. Hey Pretty Lady Ma'am said, best title ever. It sounded so damn entitled. I was also coming here ready to burn the world. Nope, definitely didn't see this coming. The title is genius because it captures what the sister probably told everyone, right? My sister is demanding I plan her wedding for free. And when I said no, she demoted me and won't do my taxes anymore. Like, yeah, when you phrase it that way with zero context, it sounds bad. But context is everything. You, Maisie Stitcher, shared a relevant personal story. Their husband is a CPA who's done free tax returns for family members for 32 years. When they needed a bedroom painted and asked the husband's brother and Sile, who did house painting as a side hustle, for help, the Sile said it would cost $500. They were annoyed but agreed to pay to keep the peace, but then the BIL stepped in and said no, just pay for paint because the husband does their taxes every year for free. That's how normal people with functional empathy and gratitude respond. They recognize the value of what they've been receiving and they reciprocate. They don't try to charge full price to someone who's been helping them for free. The comments section is also full of people sharing their own barter arrangements. You/crazy mama of two has a friend who does baking and makes all their kids' birthday cakes. In trade, they do canning and freeze drying, providing the friend with freeze dried candies for her business, plus homemade jams, pickles, sauerkraut, pasta sauce, etc. That's a fair trade. Both parties are providing something the other wants. Both parties benefit. The same commenter also had a friend who's a seamstress make her wedding dress and rehearsal dinner dress. The friend tried to say it was a gift, but our commenter insisted on paying fair market value because she knew how much work went into it. She paid what she knew was still undercharged and then still came back from her honeymoon with a huge gift basket and gift cards to make up the difference. That's how you treat people who help you. You recognize the value of their work and you try to reciprocate fairly. So many commenters also called out the family helps family crowd. Sarafian, family should help family, then why the hell isn't she helping? Boom. Simple. Direct. Impossible to argue with. Rooftop Goblin. The type of person who says a line like that is more often someone who needs help than someone who gives help. Yup. It's always the takers who are loudest about family obligations. The givers are usually too busy actually helping people to pontificate about it. Now let's address some potential counterarguments, because I want to be fair here. But wedding planning is hard work and she deserves to be paid. You're absolutely right. Wedding planning is hard work and accountants also deserve to be paid. So if we're going with everyone should be paid for their professional services, then the sister needs to cough up several $1,000s in back payment for years of accounting work. Sound fair? Maybe the sister can't afford to do a wedding for free because she'd be losing income from another client. Okay, that's a valid concern. But here's the thing. She could have said that. She could have said, I'd love to help you, but I can't do it completely for free because I'd have to turn down paying clients and I have bills to pay. Can we work out a reduced rate or a payment plan? That would be a reasonable conversation between adults. Instead, she went full, you need to pay me like any other client, while expecting to continue receiving free accounting services. That's not having a boundary, that's being a hypocrite. Family and business shouldn't mix. I actually agree with this sentiment in general, but the sister already mixed family and business by having her sister do her accounting for free. You can't have it both ways. You can't say business is business when someone asks you for help, but family is family when you need help. The sister probably didn't realize how much the accounting work was worth. Then she's bad at business. If you run a company and you don't know the value of professional services, especially the accounting services keeping your business legal and organized, you have no business running a business. Also, willful ignorance isn't an excuse. If someone's been doing specialized professional work for you for years, you should have some idea that it's valuable, even if you don't know the exact dollar amount. Our writer should have just paid for the wedding planning and kept the peace. Why? Why is it always on the person being taken advantage of to keep the peace? The sister disrupted the peace when she refused to reciprocate years of free help. The sister disrupted the peace when she was condescending about needing to make money at a job. The sister disrupted the peace when she went to social media to complain. Our writer is just enforcing consequences for the sister's choices. That's not disturbing the peace. That's refusing to continue being a doormat. Let's also talk about the absolutely brilliant move our writer pulled with the people who contacted her to take the sister's side. She listened to them. She didn't immediately get defensive or argumentative. She heard them out. And then she asked a simple question: should I continue working for her for free? Most said no, because when you frame it that way, the answer is obvious. But the few who said family helps family, she told them she wouldn't be doing their taxes anymore either if she was doing them. The instant backpedaling, the immediate, wait, no, I didn't mean too late, homie. You played yourself. You stuck your nose in someone else's business, took a side without knowing all the facts, and now you're experiencing the consequences of running your mouth. This is what I like to call putting your money where your mouth is. If you really believe family should work for free, then you shouldn't mind when our writer stops doing your taxes for free or reduced rates, right? Oh, you do mind? Interesting. Almost like you were just talking out your ass. You slash Shetty 2994 said, "Oh my God, that is hilarious." Other people who also were getting your services were saying to do it for free, and then you pulled theirs. Amazing. No notes. No notes indeed. This is chef's kiss level pettiness. It's not even really petty, it's just logical consistency. You believe in the principle you're espousing? Great. Let's apply it to you and see how you like it. I also want to highlight our writer's communication style throughout this whole thing because it's actually really mature and effective. She set clear boundaries. You're no longer in the wedding party. Here are your files. Find a new accountant. She didn't jade, justify, argue, defend, explain. She stated her decision and stuck to it. She got her parents on board before confronting the sister. She listened to people's opinions and then made informed decisions based on their responses. She held firm even when people tried to backpedal. She gave appropriate timelines, 2 months to find a new accountant. This is actually a masterclass in boundary setting. Our writer isn't being emotional or vindictive. She's just saying, if you won't participate in the family tradition of fair barter and mutual help, then we have a business relationship, and I'm choosing to end that business relationship. Clean, professional, impossible to really argue with. Now let's talk about what the sister should have done, because this whole thing was so easily avoidable. Option 1, enthusiastically agree to plan the wedding for free. This is the obvious choice. Your sister has been your free accountant for years. This is your chance to finally pay her back. Plus, you get all the benefits I mentioned earlier: portfolio material, referrals, demonstrating your skills to a built in audience, etc. This is a win win. Option 2, offer a compromise. I'd love to help you. I can't do everything for free because I'd have to turn down paying clients. But how about I do the planning for free and you just cover the costs of any materials or vendors I need to coordinate? Or I can do it for heavily reduced rate since you've been so generous with the accounting work. This shows you appreciate what she's done while also respecting your own business needs. Still probably would have worked out fine. Option 3. Option 3, be honest about why you can't. I would love to help you, but I've learned from experience that mixing family and business gets messy, and I don't want to risk our relationship. I can recommend some amazing planners I trust, and maybe I can help review contracts or give advice as your MOH. Not ideal, but at least it's honest and offers alternatives. Option 4, if you're going to be a jerk anyway, offer to start paying for accounting. I think we should both start keeping our professional work separate from our family relationship. I'll start paying you for accounting services, and I'll charge you my normal rate for wedding planning. That way everything's fair and above board. Still pretty jerky, but at least it's consistent. What the sister actually did: you need to pay me because I need to make money at my job, while I continue to expect free accounting services indefinitely. This is the worst option. It's hypocritical, it's disrespectful, it shows zero self-awareness or gratitude, and it makes you look like an entitled user. And then to double down by going to social media, by trying to rally people to her side, by playing the victim when she's the one who's been receiving free services for years. The lack of self-awareness is truly breathtaking. You, Hop Along Smiles, made an interesting observation. Looks like she found out how much the accounting service actually costs and is now panicky. Because the sister is backpedaling now, isn't she? She said she wasn't thinking when she said no. She's probably realized that A, accountants are expensive, especially for business accounting. B, it's tax season and finding a new one is going to be difficult. C, she just torched her relationship with her sister over what, in hindsight, was a terrible business decision. D, she's been publicly humiliated because people now know she's been freeloading. But here's the thing, even if the sister comes crawling back with a tearful apology and an offer to plan the wedding for free, now, our writer absolutely should not take her up on it. Several commenters made this point. oo/cuteshine1701 said, and even after that, oops, I was wrong, post an apology. OP should not do work for her again if OP knows what's good for her. Sister showed who she really is and not the type you want to do business with, especially not slippery slope like free or barter. You Top Reveal 847 said, nah, you don't trust someone you just humbled to plan your wedding. She's certainly not going to go the extra mile at the very least. OP should hire her competition. Yes, this. Trust has been broken. The sister has shown that she doesn't value our writer's contributions. Will take advantage when she can, gets condescending when challenged, runs to social media instead of handling problems maturely, only apologizes when she faces consequences. Would you want that person planning one of the most important days of your life? Hell no. Even if she technically does the work, is she going to put in the effort and care you'd want? Or is she going to do the bare minimum while resenting every second of it? Hard pass. Keep her demoted to guest, or off the guest list entirely if she keeps being dramatic about it. Some people in the comments suggested our writer should give the sister another chance for the sake of family harmony. But here's what I think those people are missing. There was family harmony. It was based on mutual help and fair exchange. The sister disrupted that harmony by refusing to participate while still expecting to benefit from it. Our writer isn't obligated to restore harmony by accepting a bad deal. The sister needs to genuinely understand what she did wrong, make amends, and rebuild trust over time. That doesn't with a quick, like, oops, sorry, I wasn't thinking, especially when she only said that after facing consequences. I also want to give props to the parents here because they are the real MVPs of this story. They could have done what so many parents do in these situations. She's your sister. You should help her. It's just one wedding. Don't make a big deal. You're being petty. Let it go. I don't want to get involved. Both of you are wrong. Instead, they looked at the situation objectively and told the sister they were disappointed in her. They backed up our writer's decision to cut off services. They didn't try to play both sides or force reconciliation. That is good parenting. Sometimes being a good parent means calling out your kid when they're being a jerk, even if it makes family gatherings awkward. The parents recognized that the sister was taking advantage and told her so. You, Pookie1688, said, glad your parents backed you up. We read about so many SP moms wanting their wronged child to cave to the golden child to keep the parents' peace. So true. The fact that the parents sided with our writer instead of trying to rug sweep or enforce false peace is honestly kind of shocking given what we usually see in these stories. Let's also appreciate the absolutely savage efficiency of our writer's actions. Sister refuses to plan wedding, immediately demoted from wedding party. Sister expects continued free accounting, immediately given USB drive and told to find new accountant. People contact her to criticize. She asks if she should work for free. People say family helps family. Immediately fired as client's clients. Sister says she won't come to wedding, told to RSVP no. Sister tries to backpedal. Tough luck. You have 2 months to find an accountant, Nat. No hesitation, no waffling, no second guessing, just swift, decisive action based on clear principles. It's beautiful. This is what happens when someone with a spine finally stops letting themselves be taken advantage of. The freeloaders are shocked because they're used to being able to manipulate their way back into good graces, but our writer isn't having it. Our writer said in a comment, I'm done. 2 words. That's all it takes. I'm done. Not maybe if she apologizes, not we'll see how it goes, not I'll think about it, just I'm done. That is the energy we all need to channel when people show us who they really are. Now, some people might say our writer is being too harsh, too unforgiving, too quick to burn bridges. To those people, I say, our writer gave her sister years of free professional services. She helped her start her business. She supported her success. She asked for one thing in return, help planning one wedding, and was not only refused but condescended to in the process. The sister then went to social media to badmouth our writer publicly, trying to rally people against her. The sister showed zero gratitude, zero self awareness, and zero willingness to reciprocate the help she'd been receiving. Exactly how much more should our writer tolerate? At what point is she allowed to say enough is enough without being called unforgiving? The answer? She's allowed to say it now. She's allowed to say it yesterday. She was allowed to say it years ago when the sister first started taking the free accounting for granted. If anything, our writer has been too patient, too generous, too accommodating. Drawing the line now is not being harsh, it's being reasonable. You, Zeitgeist3377, said it perfectly. Give people the same energy they give you. The sister gave, I need to be paid for my professional services energy while taking free professional services. Our writer is now matching that energy. Fair is fair. Let's also talk about the 2-month timeline because I think that's actually quite generous. 2 months to find a new accountant for a business during tax season is tight, but it's doable. Our writer could have said effective immediately and left her sister scrambling. Instead, she's giving her time to transition. And honestly, if the sister had any business sense at all, she should have already had a backup plan. What if our writer got sick, moved away, decided to specialize in a different area, got too busy with paying clients? You can't run a business while being completely dependent on one person's charity. This is actually a good lesson for the sister if she's capable of learning. Don't build your business model on the assumption that someone will work for you for free forever. Some practical observations. For anyone saying our writer should have just paid, wedding planning typically costs $100 to $2,000 according to the comments. Business accounting costs at minimum $1,300 for a year, according to our writer, and likely much more depending on complexity. Over the life of the sister's business, let's say 5 to 10 years, our writer has provided $1,600, $13,000 plus in free services. The sister would still be coming out ahead by doing one wedding for free. For anyone saying the sister couldn't afford to do free work, if your business can't handle doing one wedding for free/reduced rate for someone who saved you thousands of dollars over the years, your business is not sustainable. That's a cash flow problem that the sister needs to address, not make our writer's problem. For anyone saying it's unprofessional to fire clients, our writer runs her own business. She can choose her clients. She's not obligated to work for people who disrespect her or who rally others against her. That's just good business sense. I want to highlight some of the amazing comments that really drove home how badly the sister fumbled. U/bad A11 said, in the end, this will work out better for you financially. If she had helped you plan your wedding, it would have been a one-time thing, hopefully, but you would have been stuck continuing to do free accounting work for her. Exactly. The sister really thought she was doing something by refusing the wedding planning, but she just freed up our writer from years of continued free work. The sister played herself. Use new name needed again said, this exact thing is what's so offensive about the entire situation. I feel like OP's sister just showed the whole family who she is, and OP at least seems to have the good sense to believe her. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. The sister showed she's a user who doesn't value our writer's contributions. Our writer believed her and acted accordingly. U/Chicago Lake Witch said, I could see it if she was like, if I do yours, can't take on any others for that month, which means no income. And so I can't do it for free because I have these 3 expenses, but I can do it for a heavily reduced rate. That would be reasonable. A conversation about what can be reasonably done, sure. But to straight up say, nope, you have to pay like a regular customer, wild behavior. The tone and approach matter. A conversation about limitations and compromise, totally reasonable. A flat pay me full price while you continue to get free services, insane. U/Lane Burrows said, That's the point I was thinking. She should be excited she can finally repay her, right? This should have been a happy moment. Finally, I have something to trade. Finally, I can show my appreciation. Finally, I can contribute to the family barter system. The fact that the sister wasn't excited to finally be able to give back tells you everything you need to know about her character. Let me also address the sister's claim that she wasn't thinking when she said no. Bull. Shit. You know what not thinking looks like? It looks like, oh, yes, of course I'll help. And then later realizing, wait, I might have overcommitted. Let me see if we can work something out. What the sister did was deliberately explain that she needed to make money at her job, condescendingly, I might add, and therefore couldn't do free work for family. That's not thinking. That's thinking and coming to a selfish conclusion. She only wasn't thinking about the consequences. She didn't think our writer would actually enforce boundaries. She didn't think she'd lose her free accountant. She didn't think people would side with our writer. That's not the same as not thinking about what she was saying in the moment. You seriously's made a great point. Being an AH is not always exclusively about intentions. The consequences of your action or inaction negatively affecting others is the prime factor. Whether you're an AH of intentional cruelty or an AH of oblivious idiocy, the result is the same. You hurt people. Even if we're generous and assume the sister genuinely didn't think through what she was saying, which I don't believe, the impact is the same. She hurt our writer, she showed ingratitude, she demonstrated that the relationship was one-sided. Let me paint a picture of what the sister's future probably looks like. Scenario 1. She finds a cheap accountant. She goes for the cheapest option she can find. That accountant misses deductions, makes errors, maybe even gets her audited. She ends up paying more in taxes or penalties than she would have if she just had competent accounting. She learns the hard way that you get what you pay for. Scenario 2. She finds a good accountant. She pays fair market rate for quality service. She's shocked by how much it costs. Every time she writes that check, she's reminded of what she had and threw away. She's bitter but has no one to blame but herself. Scenario 3. She tries to do it herself. Disaster. Absolute disaster. She spends hours trying to figure out what our writer did effortlessly. She makes mistakes. She gets overwhelmed. Tax deadline approaches. She panics. She ends up paying someone emergency rates to fix her mess. Costs even more than scenario 2. Scenario 4. She tries to come crawling back. She offers to plan the wedding for free now. Our writer, hopefully, says no thank you. I've made other arrangements. Sister cries, begs, plays victim. Our writer holds firm. Sister learns that burned bridges are hard to rebuild. Any of these scenarios would be chef's kiss karma. And honestly, the wedding planning business might suffer too. Because if this story gets around, and it will, especially after her social media post, potential clients might think twice. Do they want to hire a wedding planner who publicly airs family drama, doesn't understand the value of reciprocal relationships, can't recognize a good business opportunity when it slaps her in the face, gets into conflicts with family members over money? I wouldn't hire her. Red flags everywhere. Let's also appreciate the absolutely beautiful irony that the sister runs a wedding planning business, but apparently doesn't understand that relationships require give and take, that partnerships are built on mutual support, and that taking people for granted leads to resentment and breakdown. Like, girl, you plan weddings. You're supposed to understand relationships. How are you this bad at maintaining your own? Now let's address the title one more time because I think it's actually brilliant meta commentary on the situation. The title represents what the sister probably thinks happened. My entitled sister expected me to work for free, and when I set a boundary, she punished me. But the actual story reveals what really happened. I expected fair reciprocity after years of one-sided help, and when it was refused, I stopped allowing myself to be used. Same facts, completely different framing. This is why context matters. This is why you can't judge based on headlines alone. You Ouija board nailed this phenomenon. The worst titles all turn out to be either pretty tame or like, yeah, you're TA, but it's justified. The plainest titles always hide the cruelest, most heinous shit you've ever seen. So true. The clickbait titles are usually justified assholes or not assholes at all. The boring titles hide the real monsters. I also want to talk about the cultural context here because it adds a beautiful layer to this story. Our writer mentions empanadas, tamales, aguardiente. This is clearly a Latin American family, Colombian based on the aguardiente mention. And in Latin cultures, family is everything. Family helps family. Family takes care of family. Family is ride or die, which makes the sister's refusal even more shocking in that cultural context. She's not just violating general principles of reciprocity, she's violating deeply held cultural values about family obligations. The fact that the parents, who are presumably from that culture and hold those values strongly, sided with our writer tells you how far out of line the sister was. If the parents, who probably have strong feelings about family helping family, looked at this situation and went, yeah, no, she's wrong, that's damning. Usla Dracosidou commented in Spanish, Que hermana de mierda. Tienes, está bien que no organice tu boda, pero envíale una factura de lo que te debe por este tiempo en que le has llevado la contabilidad. Which roughly translates to, what a shit sister you have. It's fine that she won't organize your wedding, but send her a bill for what she owes you for all this time you've done her accounting. Even Spanish-speaking commenters are like, yeah, she's the worst. Bill her. Let me also highlight some of my favorite savage comments. You'd end one online. NTA and I would absolutely invoiced her for all the work you have done and charged her for a ticket to the wedding and start to meter her whenever she start to ask questions that require your professional knowledge. In fact, change your number to a premium line number so it would cost her to text and call you. The pettiness. I am here for it. Premium line number. I'm dying. Golden reply referring to people suggesting she invoice the sister. It really would be. Just a simple email. As requested, I'm formalizing our business relationship. Here's your invoice for services rendered 2020 to 2026. Please remit payment within 30 days. Thanks. What a crazy thing for them all to do during tax season. NTA, right? The timing. This is like quitting your job at a retail store on Black Friday. You're going to have a bad time. I love how she can't do free stuff for family because she needs to make money, but OP should do free stuff for family whilst also needing to make money. The logic is just not logicking. Apprehensive. NTA, finally someone who is not a doormat. Preach. So many of these stories are people asking, am I the asshole for finally standing up for myself after 10 years of abuse? Like, no, babe, you should have done this years ago. Our writer didn't let it get to that point. Sister showed her ass once, and our writer was like, hey, bet we're done here. That's the energy. The verdict. Our writer is not the asshole. Not even a little bit. Not even 0.0001%. The sister is absolutely the asshole for taking years of free professional services for granted, refusing to reciprocate when asked, being condescending about needing to make money while expecting continued free work, going to social media to complain instead of handling it maturely, only trying to backtrack after facing consequences, showing zero gratitude or self-awareness. The flying monkeys who contacted our writer to criticize her are also assholes for sticking their noses in business that wasn't theirs, making judgments without full information, applying standards to our writer they didn't apply to the sister, backpedaling immediately when their opinions had consequences for them. The parents are the heroes for actually backing up our writer and calling out the sister's behavior. Our writer handled this perfectly, set clear boundaries, communicated directly, held firm despite pressure, extended reasonable timelines, matched the energy she was given, protected her peace and her business. This is how you handle users and manipulators in your life. You don't argue, you don't jade, you just enforce consequences for their choices and let them figure it out. To our writer, have a beautiful wedding without the drama your sister would have brought. Use the money you're saving from not doing her accounting anymore to hire an amazing wedding planner who will actually appreciate your business. Enjoy your special day surrounded by people who actually value you. To the sister, enjoy paying for an accountant and learning what your sister's help was actually worth. Maybe next time you'll think twice before biting the hand that's been feeding you for years. To everyone reading this is your reminder that you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep ungrateful people warm. If someone won't reciprocate your help, stop helping. If someone takes you for granted, remove yourself from their access. Your time, energy, and expertise have value, and you're allowed to stop giving them away to people who don't appreciate them. Not the asshole. And honestly, kind of my hero for how cleanly and decisively this was handled. Now, go enjoy those tamales and empanadas, knowing you don't have to do one more minute of ungrateful accounting work. Cheers.